Welcome to the Investor Coaching Show, a podcast to help you get an insider's view of the financial world and escape common investment traps. We look at the financial news of the day and help you make sense of it so you can relax about money. And here's your host, Paul Winkler.
All right, back here on the Investor Coaching Show, Paul Winkler, Evan Barnard. Okay, so Evan, common questions that people ask. I figure I'd just look up, see what people's common questions are. Is your emergency fund sufficient? What do you think? How much should you have an emergency fund? What's your typical for people?
Well, my typical for people used to be 3 to 6 months of living expenses. If you're single, 6 months. If you're married and a sole wage earner, 6 months. If you're married and both people are working, 3 months to 6 months is sufficient.
Wow, you're like real specific. Okay.
I am. Now, since COVID, I've been more than comfortable if a client's like, I just want to keep 12 months in cash,
I'm with you there.
18 months in cash. I'm like, I'm okay with it. I'm not going to try to coax you into 7% on the, but the textbook's 3 to 6 months, depending on those parameters. But we have a lot of people sitting on more than that since COVID.
I typically find as people get older, I'm comfortable with 12 months. I'm super, super comfortable with that. And but I'll have people that are like, they have 2 weeks. And that makes me a little bit nervous, having a couple of weeks. Typically your disability policy, and you go, where does the 3 to 6 months come from? The people have disability policies, and it might have a 3-month wait before you're actually able to get a benefit. If you even have disability insurance, you gotta, that'd be something to really be conscious of, making sure that you have that. But what is it? And trying to build that up little by little. You just want to be able to be comfortable so you're not sitting there worried about where the next paycheck's going to come in. I remember all too well, living in that circumstance and thinking, I just don't want to be there anymore. But 6 to 12 months is what they recommended here. I just thought I would get your opinion on that. The other thing is, what do you put it in? Money market accounts, high yield savings, savings account. Who cares?
I'm almost agnostic on that.
Me too.
I'm a fan of short-term government money funds, personally.
Yeah.
Just because I'm not a big fan of FDIC. Long story there, but I just think a government money fund is safer, frankly, than bank assets.
Yeah, for sure. What does it mean to create a personal budget? I thought that was an interesting question.
Smart.
Yeah, I mean, how much am I spending? What am I? I find a lot of people don't know what their budget is when I'm planning for retirement.
Yeah,
when I'm doing retirement planning for people, I'll often just go, I'm just going to assume you don't have a budget. You don't have a clue what you're spending.
Yeah.
And they look at me and go, yeah, you're right. So I'll go, okay, what's your income? What are you saving for retirement? What are your taxes? And what are you saving on the side? Do you have anything that you're saving on the side? And then I'll often include their mortgage payment there. Because I might shoot for having the mortgage paid off at the time that they retire. So I'll take income minus what they're saving, minus mortgage payment. That's your real budget.
Yeah.
It's the way I'll look at it.
That's most people, actually.
I think it helps, and typically what I'll do is I'll take that number and then I'll say, okay, so you got an income of $60,000, let's say, and you're saving, $5,000 or whatever. And now that's $55,000. And then you got a mortgage payment that's, $1,500 a month or whatever, so I'll take the $18,000 off of that, and I'll just go, okay, so that's your real budget. And a lot of times, what happens when you do that, people go, you know what, I might be more okay in retirement than I thought, if they've got any semblance of savings whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then they look at their Social Security benefit. I think it gives them a little bit of hope that there might be okay. So I like doing it in that particular way. So creating it's great if you can come up with a budget, but I find that when people actually sit down and do budgets, they underrepresent what they're really spending.
Most of the time. Now,
I rarely see somebody that's not.
Read the question again, just because I may have
What
a
does it
comment on
mean
that.
to create a personal budget? Yeah,
What
so
does
they're
it
saying
mean?
creating a personal financial budget involves determining your financial goals and then outlining the monthly, quarterly, or even annual income, expenditures, and savings you'll need to achieve these goals. So that's kind of...
The one thing I would add, and I don't know if it would lead to meaning, but we ran through this when the kids were first born. And Cindy hasn't worked since about 4 months into our marriage.
You didn't just say that, did you?
And hasn't worked outside the home.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Thank you, Paul.
I'm saving it, Cindy. That's okay. I'm here to help.
I've got a great leather couch in the living room, so we're okay.
You're going to be out with the chickens.
So, I was bringing dinner home a lot. I wasn't bringing home the bacon. I was just bringing dinner home. And so we didn't feel like we were eating out a lot. Yeah. You're like, oh, we're eating at home and so forth.
Sure.
And this was back when Microsoft Money was like a brand new thing.
Oh, yeah,
and,
yeah.
I was an early adopter on all that stuff and started running some numbers and holy cow, I'm spending, $700 eating out, which was a crap ton of money in 1993.
So you actually went and did that.
And so
what you're supposed to do is look at it.
I think it does help highlight of, wow, that's a lot on Starbucks, or wow, that's a lot on, whatever.
It is a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it is a good idea. I just don't find that people know what they're spending. So should you do it? Yeah.
I think it is more common.
Yeah.
That's the flip side of this tech stuff. Robinhood's horrible, but we have a lot of younger clients that they track all that stuff on their phone.
Or eMoney. Is a good little program for that, and I've had people use different types of programs that are good. They're helpful for kind of getting a handle on these things. Is life insurance important? Only if you're going to die. Right. I mean, outside that, it's not. No,
only if you want your kids to eat. Yeah,
My thing has always been term insurance. Very, very rarely does permanent insurance make a whole heck of a lot of sense. Whole life insurance, you'll have people that use it for estate planning purposes, where, they'll do life insurance trusts and those types of things. So, you never do this, you always do that. I'm not much of a person on that, but most often term insurance, because you're just trying to make sure you've got something where you have something in place if something happens. The only life insurance that matters is the one that's enforced when you die.
Yeah. So a lot of stuff is mailed now. So I'm curious, have you ever delivered a claim check on life insurance?
I have.
Because I never have. Everything was always mailed. I was just curious. Yeah.
Well, I had a situation where I was an insurance agent working for a big company, and they wanted us to sell whole life insurance. So the most that the person could afford was, I'll never forget it, a $25,000 policy. That's all they could afford. And the guy, one morning, I wake up, I go downstairs, and I'm still living at my parents' house when I'm doing this.
There you go.
Yes, because it was my very first real job. And my mother goes, "Did you hear about your client?" And I said, "What?" "Your client was in the news." And I said, "What?" And said, there is a lake that was not too far from where I grew up called Round Lake. And it was a round lake. And they were out in March or April in a boat that was bondoed.
Oh, gosh.
The boat gave way. The bondo gave way, and the boat started sinking. His brother drowned. My client hung on to the boat for dear life and was rescued. This was in the middle of the night that this happened. And I didn't deliver the claim check. Now I'm going to tell you the claim check story in a second.
Yeah.
But I went out to his place and I said, "I am so sorry to hear what happened to your brother." "Oh my gosh." And he says, "I'm canceling the policy you sold me." And I said, "It was the only policy you had. You're canceling the policy?" He said, "All I could think of is hanging on to that boat for dear life is what would my wife and my son do with only $25,000. And from that point on, that was the biggest wake-up call in my life when it came to life insurance. Now, I did have a situation where a young lady, 29 years old, died of cancer.
Oh, wow.
With kids. And that was that was term insurance that she had. And she had a decent amount of it. Her family had a decent amount. So that was the swap side of the story is I had a situation where it was a much different outcome than that. But yeah. How about you?
No, I've never delivered one. I've had clients that made a claim, or their survivor made a claim.
Yeah, I've had it.
But it's always mailed by the insurance company at that point.
Well, I had an Iraq War. Iraq War was action, and his wife actually. So that was another one. So I've had several situations throughout my career where that happened. So that was another one. How do you save for a house? Little by little. Save. Yeah. I mean, just save, man. How do you save for a house? What kind of an investment would you use? Typically you're going to be using something based on time horizon. How much in stocks versus bonds? It depends on time horizon. But just saving, good grief, making sure, getting down payments. I try to avoid as much as I possibly can having less than 20% down and purchasing a house. But then again, my wife and I, our very first place that we bought, we ended up saving a very small amount of money, about $10,000, bought a piece of land. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, the piece of land appreciated. It went up from $10,000 to $20,000. And the appreciation in the land value was enough that between that, we were able to buy the house, and that was our 20% down payment.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, it was kind of a cool story. But that's another common question. How about you? Any thoughts on saving for a house?
No, the same thing was time horizon. If you're, hey, I'm looking for a house in the next 18 months. I'm close. Mm-hmm. Then you should save in cash or, something like that.
For sure.
Cash instrument, but
yeah, don't get creative.
If you're 24 and you're like, by the time I'm 30, 35, I may want to get one, then stocks and bonds, a moderate mix is very appropriate. Because just not to use dollar cost averaging from the marketing standpoint that it's become, but just you take advantage of the ebbs and flows of the market as you're putting that in, and you'll have a bigger nest egg typically.
And if you have some flexibility, the more flexibility to have, more you can use stocks and equities. Yeah. And, simply because if I'm saying, well, I'm going to buy a house, but maybe I'll buy it in 5 years, maybe I'll buy it in 7 years, maybe I'll buy it in 10 years. If the market happens to be down the year that I was going to buy a house, then maybe I wait. Now, and that can be a hit and miss type of thing. Because if you're talking about the year 2000, 2001, 2002, when the stock market went down,
right?
Well, interestingly, housing prices went up. But if you look fast forward to 2008, when the stock market went down, so did the housing market. Yeah. It would have been nice to have money sitting in cash where you could buy a house cheap.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think even that conversation speaks to, on these questions, none of the answers are static. And so, if all of a sudden I'm saving for a house and maybe I want to put 15% down, just give it a number.
Sure.
And I have a big increase in income and rates drop. And so, hey, I can get in there for 10%. And, you may change your plan and say, okay, I'm not putting as much down because of, run the numbers. So a lot of these, you really do have to pay attention to it to continue to have a good answer.
Well, how about for a fun idea? So you buy this place and you put 10% down.
Yeah.
And it has a lot of unfinished area. And you go in there, maybe you're a little bit handy with a hammer and drywall.
Yeah.
And you finish the area, get the place reappraised, and now it appraises for a higher price, and now you have 20%. You can get rid of the MIP.
PMI, yeah.
Yeah, so you get rid of the mortgage insurance, because the problem with it not having 20% down, for those of you that don't know, is that you'll have to have an insurance policy that makes sure that the bank doesn't lose money if you default. So they want you to have 20% down to avoid paying for that insurance. But you can get rid of the insurance if the house then appraises for a higher level, and your debt to equity ratio isn't out of whack. So anyway, that's the reason for that. Here's the point about this. Creativity. You can get really creative on a lot of this stuff. Another question that was in here is, how much do I need to save for retirement?
More.
My biggest thing is I tell people, save earlier, because every 7 years you wait, you cut your retirement in half. I try to wake up younger people with that one.
Right.
Say 10 to 15% of income, is a typical one that I hear a lot of times. If you're saving,
most of the time when I run the numbers, if somebody is saving 10%, they're going to have enough.
Yeah, and I do find that to be the case.
It's a pretty good number.
And when you're not getting the match at your employer, For Christ's sakes, do whatever you got to do to rearrange your budget so you can get the match. I mean, you don't want to take free money for granted. You want to make sure that you're getting the match in your 401k and your plan. How much do I need to save for your child's college? A lot of, that's a toss up. A lot of kids, you don't know whether they're going to be going to college. I always say put the mask on yourself first. Make sure you're saving for retirement, and then that might be a secondary goal. But yeah, absolutely, you could be saving for kids' college education, depending on whether the child is likely to go to school or not. But making sure that you're taking care of yourself. You don't want to have a situation where later on your kids are, taking care of you because you didn't save for retirement.
Yes,
be very, very critical not to be in that type of circumstance. Anyway, those are a couple of fun questions I thought I'd throw out there. Maybe I might have a couple on the other side. We may see. Let's see if we come up with a couple other decent questions. Paul Winkler, Investor Coaching Show right here, along with Evan Barner. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. Hey, just a note to you podcast folks. We just came out with a retirement income guide, and I'm super excited about this. There are all kinds of myths about taking income in retirement. People worry about running out of money, and rightfully so, because a lot of these myths can actually cause that. Now, the myths that you typically hear about, number one, dividends, living off dividends in retirement, real estate, life insurance as a retirement investment, and annuities, and interest-bearing accounts, and target date funds. There are all kinds of things out there. What I want to do is put something together that walks through why those things are problematic, number one. Number two, the other thing that I wanted to do is walk through the evidence-based research on taking income in retirement. And we got a ton of data going all the way back to 1900. What's the logic behind it? And it's intensely logical. So we put that together, and all you have to do to download that, making it super simple, just go to paulwinkler.com/relax, and you can actually get into that very easily right there. So I would urge you to do that. Check it out, because I think you're going to really like it. paulwinkler.com/relax. Just for the fun of it, I decided to ask ChatGPT what the best way to invest was.
It's probably still thinking.
Own the market, don't try to beat it.
Really? Is that what it said?
Yeah.
Wow.
I
invest in OpenAI.
Usually through low cost or evidence-based funds. They're talking about index, but and you look at index.
They said
and go,
evidence-based.
But they said evidence-based. Yeah. They threw that in there, So okay, very good.
Wow.
Research shows most professional stock pickers fail to beat the market. Wow, does that sound familiar, huh? Gotta love that. Keep the costs low, of course.
They have your book in the large language model.
They apparently. Now, they don't, it's how do you keep the expenses low? You can't just look at management fees. They could have been a little bit more specific on that, because, you've got different ways of reducing expenses through, block trading. You've got, things like securities lending revenue, profitability factors, and you can look at momentum, using momentum to reduce expenses. But, at least they said keep the cost low.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Diversify broadly. Thousands of stocks. There you go.
Wow.
Multiple countries, different company sizes and types. Now, you got to be a little bit more specific than that. You might be investing in just, medium-sized companies. Mid-sized companies aren't really great diversifiers, but hey, bravo, not bad. Focus on, okay, what do you focus on? Evan, what do you mainly focus on when investing?
Oh,
Brinson, Hood, and Beaver. Come on.
The asset allocation.
There you go. Yep.
I was trying to think of what ChatGPT was going to say.
No, ChatGPT got it right. Younger investors, more stocks. Closer to retirement, more bonds for stability. Yeah, but very, very vague, but right on. Stay invested and ignore noise. Love it. Biggest mistakes investors make: jumping in and out of markets, reacting to headlines. We've been talking about that all show. Way to go, ChatGPT. This is not terrible. Trying to predict crashes. Love it. Historically, the best strategy has been staying invested through ups and downs. Love it. Use tax-efficient accounts was another one. 401ks, IRAs, Roth IRAs, HSAs. I'm impressed.
I am too. I'm surprised and impressed.
I am impressed. I don't normally see that.
I was impressed enough my voice changed. That's really cool.
Well, now, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. It looks like what I just gave him credit for, I've got to take away.
Uh-oh.
Oh, they said, do you want a simple 3-fund portfolio?
Oh, did they?
Oh yeah. That was the next thing. So I said, yes. What first recommendation? Total U.S. total stock market fund. No way, Jose. That
close, but no cigar.
Yeah. Why? You go.
Well, you're taking more risk than necessary, and you're basically, if you look at a total stock market, because of how those are cap weighted and built, you're still going to end up having half your portfolio in about 30 or 40 companies. And you're only in one asset class in one country, typically.
Yeah. And what is overweighted?
Large and in this day and age, tech.
Mm-hmm. And it is. It's very, very heavily weighted in just those. So that's the problem you run into. Yeah. I thought, oh gosh, yeah, that was the first one, and they had that.
Now here's the question mine asked me.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you want, I can turn this into a specific investment plan based on your age, timeline, income stability, and risk tolerance.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good.
Well, did they do it? What did they come up with?
No. So this is an
because I'm looking at it going that the recommendation here.
Yeah,
6% would be in this fund would be of the portfolios in NVIDIA. Another 6 is in Apple. So there's 12% of your portfolio right there. About another 5 is in Microsoft. There's 17% of your portfolio in Amazon. So 20% of your money is in just 4 stocks in that total stock market fund.
Wow.
So yeah, not quite. Yeah, 20% of your money in just 4 stocks. Okay. Well, I guess we're not going to get replaced by AI.
Not anytime soon.
Not anytime soon. Yeah. All right. So, but a couple things. 40 to 50% of the global stock market's outside the U.S. It is.
Yeah.
That is absolutely true. So, making sure, and so far year to date, what you wouldn't have had any of in their example that they had
return.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't have had any return. No, good point. Point well made. That you wouldn't have had any return. But what you wouldn't have had any of was international small companies, where the S&P is down, large U.S. companies are down so far this year. Those areas of the market are up about 6%.
6%,
yeah, about 6%. So, recognize that a lot of the things that you wouldn't even think about investing in, even through all the mess that we've been through, all the turmoil so far this year, markets, a lot of them are up pretty significantly still year to date.
Yeah.
Even with all of the mess going on. So, I think that's critical, being even more diversified than they're recommending here. But it's just heartening to see that maybe some of what we've been talking about for 25, because that would have been unheard of 25 years ago when I started this radio show. That advice wouldn't have made it anywhere.
No.
Yeah. So anyway,
the interesting point.
Yeah.
Says the biggest drivers of success are usually, and it goes through a laundry list, but it includes behavior during downturns.
Totally.
And so let's say that ChatGPT built a great portfolio.
Yes.
But if you screw it up when the market goes down or there's a war and I change it all of a sudden or rerun it,
or the fund manager screws it up.
Well, yes.
Yes. So true.
You need a coach.
You do. Hey, this is Paul Winkler. Hope you enjoyed today's edition of the Investor Coaching Show. If you want to learn more about what we do, go to our website, paulwinkler.com. Until next time, I'm Paul Winkler, reminding you that I believe that more educated investors are more confident investors, and confident investors are more successful investors. Have a great one. Advisory services offered through Paul Winkler, Inc., an SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced and information provided in this material are for general informational purposes only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine what investments are appropriate for you, please consult with a financial advisor. Paul Winkler, Inc. does not provide tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax or legal advisor regarding your particular situation.